I'm Emily Compagno, along with Piers Morgan, Joey Jones, Katie Pavlich, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. She's back and more bitter than ever. Failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris giving her first post-election interview to failed late-night host Stephen Colbert. The former Veep whined about the broken political system, the same one that handed her the nomination without a single vote. She also punted when asked who the current leader of the Democratic Party is.
For now, I don't want to go back in the system. I think it's broken. I always believed that as fragile as our democracy is, our systems would be strong enough to defend our most fundamental principles. And I think right now that they're not as strong as they need to be. I want to talk with people, and I don't want it to be transactional where I'm asking for their vote.
Who's leading the Democratic Party? I'm just curious.
There are lots of leaders. And
there's generally a leader of the Democratic Party. You know, like, oh, that's the leader of the Democratic Party. Who comes to mind?
I think there are a lot of, I'm not going to go through names because then I'm going to leave somebody out and then I'm going to hear about it.
It's just a preview of what we can expect on her upcoming book tour. She also served up some of her famous word salad.
How's Doug?
My birthday's in October. The election's in November. You see where I'm going. And Dougie kind of dropped the ball on my big birthday. We would have these events where people who I'm sure had never been under the same roof with the people who are standing next to them. I like these kinds of ear pods that have the thing.
And Kamala's not the only Democrat haunting the party. Joe Biden stumbled back on stage to ramble about existential threats and other malarkey.
Not since those tumultuous days in the 1960s has this fight been so existential to who we are as a nation, with marginalized groups so dramatically under attack. It's not enough to honor the heroes that came before us. We need new heroes now. No, we do. We need you to follow in their footsteps.
And for real. And when President Autopen is discussing heroes, he may be referring to Mike Donilon. That's Biden's longtime strategist who testified yesterday he would have pocketed an extra $4 million if Joe got reelected. Greg, pick your agonizing figure two.
I'll do both quickly. One, the interview was pathetic. It was basically two rejects consoling each other and somehow believing that neither of them had anything to do with their demise. It's the system, it's the voters, it's the viewers. They're what's broken. I felt like I was listening to two outcasts from The Bachelor sharing a limo back to the airport. You know what? We were too good for him. But when you see them together, it kind of does tell you that the loss that the Democrats experienced was a package deal. It was kind of bigger than that. It wasn't just Kamala. It wasn't just Colbert. NPR, radical campus bureaucrats. Look what's happening to Harvard and Columbia. Left-wing nonprofits going under. Media Matters. There's all these entities that could only survive together in their own insulated, corrupt power. And as one goes down, which was Biden and then Kamala, they're all going down with Joe. He looked terrible, but I mean, what else is new? But speeches are where he's at because he can fumble through the most hysterical nonsense, but there's no pushback. He could just blah, 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 blah. But it does expose one of the great lies of his presidency, that he never was in charge because he came in as a moderate, but he speaks like Angela Davis on Geritol. He does nothing even remote to healing. Remember, he was going to heal a country. He's a conduit still for division. That speech is the same one he's been doing for 4 years. If Trump is an existential threat to marginalized communities, can you please name one? And it has to be an American one. Is it blacks? Is it Hispanics? Is it gays? How are we dismantling the Constitution? See, when you're doing a speech, he doesn't have to provide that. He just says it. He's the detritus of a dead party. This stuff doesn't work anymore. His batteries are dead. I think we almost should just stop showing him.
Yeah, it's sort of like being shown
Yeah,
photographs
this
of an
casket's gotta
autopsy.
cl-
Yeah, exactly.
It's an open casket at this point.
We need a graphic warning.
Some people like that.
Yeah.
So, Katie, all right, we're seeing one horse that's out to pasture, should be, and then Kamala, she's on a book tour. She says she's not running for governor. She can't even name a leader. What's on the horizon here?
I mean, watching this interview, it makes me think that her book's going to be a total dud because she can't even explain like who's in charge, what actually went wrong. She's deflecting and saying that it's a matter of our democracy falling apart, even though we just had an election to elect Donald Trump and won every single swing state and beat her after she was anointed and didn't win, as you mentioned, a single vote, not just in that election, but in the primaries when she ran for president the first time. This is another rebrand of her. I'm happy to see her say that she doesn't want to be in public office. She says she wants to go talk to people outside in the country. She wants to listen to them. Based on the fact that she went to Stephen Colbert for this interview and didn't name a single policy position that the Democrats maybe went too far on, I don't think she's actually interested in talking to people. I think she's interested in holding on to her resume, doing what she can to make money, giving speeches. But I would say whoever keeps booking her and Joe Biden to keep talking about 2024 and the Biden administration, when Democrats really want to move on and really hope to, get some political power against Trump in the midterms, they're sabotaging the Democrats, and maybe they should stop booking them for public appearances because it's not working out well for them at all.
Right. In the hundreds of times she mentions, well, I talked about it in the book to Stephen Colbert. It was so sort of revealing to me because all of us here at the table, we've all written books. And when we talk about it, we say, yeah, I wrote this, I wrote this. She always just said she talked because clearly she just had a conversation with someone and they took the word salad and typed it up for her. But what do you see on the horizon for the Democrat Party? Because as Katie said, so these guys are still getting booked. They're sort of the proverbial leaders, but at the same time, obviously they're empty vessels, but we shouldn't celebrate and spike the football too early.
Yeah, well, in my book, Behind the Badge, which is available wherever books are sold. Listen, the book is labeled 107 days. And I think that she does think she's going to get a mulligan on this presidential election because of the situation that she was, in her words, put into. And I say in her words, in other words, to say that's probably how she wants to present it. And you know what? It's probably true. I mean, she has a stronger argument than a lot of other Democrats in the sense that have failed in an election, like Stacey Abrams or Beto O'Rourke, that have recycled through the washing machine and come out worse each time. I don't think she has any kind of major appeal, but I also know how lost in the wilderness Republicans were through the entire Obama years post-Bush. And regardless of what you think about Bush, he was probably as or more unpopular than Biden is now at the end of his term, second term. So this idea that Democrats are they're trashed and they're wandering without a leader until the leader shows up, sure, but that can happen overnight in a world where we all have cell phones. So this idea that you're taking some sort of victory lap over the Democrats right now is crazy to me. It might be Gavin Newsom. It might be Kamala finding her words. It might be someone in the House that we never talk about, but they're always a day and a moment away from getting popular again. And sometimes that's even when Republicans shoot themselves in the foot, which for me is not a big deal, but for most it would be.
So Piers, all right, Biden said we need new heroes now. So to Joey's point, is that sort of a veiled admission, look, we need anyone? Who could it be? Because we've got a lot of Instagram politicians there in that party. So I think popping up, what they really need is a human.
Yes, that would be a good sort. First of all,
That's a low bar. Yeah, exactly.
It's a very, very low bar.
Keep it low bar.
First of all, lovely to be back, and lovely to see a handsome man in the middle seat there. Makes a big difference with Jesse not here. Look, speaking frankly, as your friend from across the pond, they're a complete and utter shambles, aren't they, the Democrats?
Yes,
I mean, they've hit record low approval polls. She talks about a broken system. And her big book. I have a book coming, actually, genuinely, called Woke is Dead. And in a way, listening to her word salading away with Colbert, who is the epitome of the late night woke guy who hates Trump and everything about him and believes all the nonsense that the Democrats have spewed for the last few years. Woke is dead. They just haven't got the memo yet. And so what you're seeing is the last kind of vestiges of that mindset, which was repudiated in the most spectacular fashion in the last election. And, if they're wondering why Donald Trump got reelected, partly it's his huge personality, his policies about the economy, about immigration and so on, but also because he saw through the number one fault line, I think, of the Democrats, their absolute abandonment of common sense.
Yeah.
And you can chart it really I discussed this last time I was on this show. The moment you try and convince the public that it's perfectly reasonable and fair to have a 6'4" man dominating in a women's sport like swimming or athletics or whatever, you have lost your marbles. So they've got to get back to common sense. The reason she couldn't answer the question, I don't think they know who the future is. I agree with you, Joey. I do think history shows somebody's going to come through here. They've got to get somebody like a Bill Clinton. They've got to get somebody in the center who can return them to at least looking and sounding like they understand common sense. I don't know who that person is, but they've got to do it fast, because right now, looking at Kamala, looking at Biden, I mean, my God, the idea that if that guy had won and had become president for the next 4 years of the United States, he can barely move.
If I saw him like in a public space, I would I think I was like in a haunted house.
No, it's true. It's embarrassing.
It's scary. He scares me.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.